Chomish In Chrouble. The line to the stone quarry at the end of Chomish's branch line goes for some distance along a road. Chomish was always careful to whistle here, in case any vehicles or pedestrians were about. One morning there were no lorries on the road, and the only person Chomish could see was a bobby sitting on the grass close to the level crossing. He was shaking a stone from his boot. Chomish liked bobbies. He became friendly with the constable who lived nearby, but he just retired. "Good morning," whistled Chomish, expecting the new bobby to also be friendly. The bobby dropped his boot and turned. He didn't look friendly. He was red in the face and very cross. "Disgraceful," he spluttered, one stalk in the grass. "My first day in the area. I didn't sleep a wink last night. It was so quiet here at first, but now engines come whistling suddenly behind me." "I'm sorry, officer," said Chomish as he passed by. "I only wanted to say good morning." As Chomish crossed the road with his wagons of stone, he heard what he thought was a guard's whistle. But he had no guard yet. The journey was downhill all the way, so he didn't need a brake van until he got back to the top station. Then he and his crew realized it was the bobby's whistle. Charlie waited until the last truck crossed the road before applying Chomish's brakes. The bobby walked over, still with only one boot, and pointed at Chomish. "Where's your cowcatcher?" he asked. But I don't catch cows, officer." "Don't be funny," snapped the bobby. He looked at Chomish's wheels. "No side plates either." He took out a notebook and scribbled in it. "Engines running along public roads," he said to Chomish and his crew, "must have their wheels covered and a cowcatcher in front. You haven't, so you are dangerous to the public." "Rubbish," said Charlie. "We've run along here scores of times and never had—" "That makes it worse," the bobby interrupted. He wrote regular lawbreaker in his book. I was having brunch with my wife. I was eating toast and marmalade, with scrambled eggs, sausage and chips. My wife had just topped up my coffee mug when the butler came in. "Excuse me, sir," he said. "You're wanted on the telephone." "Oh, bother that telephone," I grumbled. I picked up a jammy muffin and left the table. "I'm sorry, my dear," I said to my wife a few minutes later. "Apparently Chomish is in trouble with the fuzz and I must go at once." And after one last slice of ham, I gulped down my coffee and set off. I arrived at Chomish's junction to find that the bobby had demanded a footplate ride all the way down the branch line. Charlie quickly told me what had happened. "Dangerous to the public, indeed," I spluttered. "We'll just see about that." I spoke to the bobby. Passengers crowded around to watch our heated discussion. Chomish watched our argument anxiously. He didn't fancy the prospect of sporting a cowcatcher, any more than he fancied wearing a snowplow in wintry weather. But the bobby was adamant. "The law is the law, and we cannot change it." I was exhausted. "Sorry, lads, it's no use trying to talk any sense into cops. We'll just have to have Chomish fitted for cowcatchers and aprons, I suppose." "Everyone will laugh, sir," said Chomish sadly. "They'll say I look like a tram." I blinked. Then I laughed. "Brilliant, Chomish. Why didn't I think of that? We need a tram engine, and I know just the one. I met her when I was on my summer holiday last year. Elsie, I called her. She hasn't enough work to do and needs a change. I'll contact her superintendent at once." About a week later, Elsie arrived. She was looking weather-beaten. Apparently she'd been parked in that siding all winter. Scrap merchants had visited her yard, but had completely ignored her. It seems they mistook her for a shed or something. Some constables were with me when she arrived at the junction station. "That's a good engine," said the chief inspector. "Just the right type for the tramway." I smiled. "Welcome, Elsie. I see you've brought Henrietta with you." "You don't mind, do you, sir?" asked Elsie anxiously. "The superintendent wanted to use her as an onion shop." "That would never do," I said gravely. "She can transport the workers to and from the quarry." And that's just what they did every Monday morning and Friday evening. For the rest of the week, Elsie could be found trundling along the quarry tramway bringing loaded stone wagons to the top station and empty ones back. She made the trucks behave even better than Chomish did. At first, Chomish was jealous of having to share his branch line. But when Elsie told him that she'd made the bobby at the crossing jump when she rang her bell, he was pleased, and they soon became good friends.